you console players trying to tell me what is what. Plug your HDMI straight into your bus, cause you never get the picture on my graphics cards. Riding hype trains into cattle cars.
PC, party, party, party. It's a PC, party, party, party.
Your MOBAs, your Sims, your RPGs, no one's incompatible with PC. When society's divided, y'all should know. I bring the masses together, that's my MMO. Providing straight euphoria to all kinds of warriors. Fighting one cause, and boy is it glorious. Sharing an experience with no equal. Only found here in the party of the people. And all your console players trying to tell me what is what. Just check me out, the living proof that you suck. You poison the community and only cause trouble. The fact that you exist only heightens my struggle.
PC.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 27 of the Pseudo Nerd Podcast for July 8, 2016. I'm your podcast host, Josh Kiser, and joining me in the motherboard today is Josh. I play on the lowest settings possible, Haddix.
Dude, you already used that.
I know, but it works well here for you, too. And I'm going to reuse the Kyle, I'll just buy a new PC Hoagland.
Yeah, we're prepared for this with some new original banter. What's going on?
Yeah, you know what? Sue me, dude. I was busy working some other stuff. You sprung the recording on us late, so, you know, it's, it happens. You're like, hey, dude, I gotta record early. And, that's the price we pay.
Indeed.
I was told, I mean, it was totally my fault, but for some time last week, my wife was telling me that we were going out to dinner on Thursday, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that's good, that's fine. And then finally on the weekend, she's like, don't forget that we're going out on Thursday, so if you're doing the podcast, make sure you guys have it set up for earlier. And I was like, all right, yeah, no problem. And I totally forgot. And then yesterday, she was like, so do they know that you're recording tomorrow? And I'm like, oh yeah, well shit, might as well let them know now. So,
well, thanks for that.
Yeah, cool, bro.
And coming up in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about PC gaming as we enter our month all about video games. We're going to spend a week talking about PC games, a week talking about console games, a week talking about mobile games, and then, of course, our list podcast. So that's sort of the month in a nutshell. And it should be pretty entertaining stuff, I think. If not, don't blame us. We just kind of got this thing together pretty quickly. But I got to tell you guys a little story here. I recently received a rental car, or not rental car, I'm sorry, a car for work, like a company car, which is awesome, you know, not having to pay your own gas and things like that. It's good times. It sucks though when it breaks down on you.
I mean, how long have you had this car?
I've had the car for about 2 or 3 weeks. That said, I inherited a former salesman's car. So it has like 70,000 miles on it. It's a 2014.
Which that's not bad.
No, not at all. And, you know, they told me, they're like, this is what you're going to use until the lease runs up in March. You'll get a new car then. I'm like, oh, that's cool with me. So I get home from work on Friday. We had the long holiday weekend. I end up not driving my car the whole weekend, so it just sits in my driveway until Tuesday morning. I get up and I'm getting ready to go to work, and I go to turn the car on, doesn't start. So naturally, you know, your first instinct is, oh shit, did I leave like a light, you know, a dome light on, headlights on, something like that. But I everything I do is like, I leave it on the automatic settings because I don't like mess with any of that stuff. Partly for that reason.
I feel like if a car passed 2006 or 7, like they all have those automatic settings. When my old Ford Civic, I think I killed that battery every other week because I keep forgetting to manually turn off the headlights when I go into like a parking garage.
So yeah, exactly. So, needless to say, I just took my own car to work that day, so I wasn't going to be late. And while I'm at work, I had to talk to, because I didn't know what the protocol is. You know, do we have a company, like, do we have to call certain people? Do I have to take it to a certain place? Whatever. Turns out you get it fixed and handled like you would your own personal car. The only difference is, like, you use the company credit card to pay for the expenses. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I call, it's a Ford, so there's a Ford dealership right down the road from me that has a service department. So I called them up and I said, hey, I got this car that's dead. You know, I need to come in. I'm not sure what it is. Oh, I should dial back a second. Because I thought it might just need jumped in a battery issue, I had my dad stop by on his way home and check it out. He looked at it, tried to jump it with his car, and he's like, he's pretty good with cars. He said, no, it's something weird's happening. I've not seen cars act this way, like when there's a dead battery. I feel like something else is going on. I tried jumping, it didn't work. So then I called the Ford dealership, and they're like, okay, well, how are you going to get it here? And I was like, well, I wanted to see if you guys have somebody you prefer us using to tow, or if I should just call whoever I want to tow it. And they're like, oh, we recommend this company. I'm not going to say their name because I'm not going to give them the fucking publicity, and we'll get there in a minute. They are not like Billy's Mart, which, of course, you can get everything but towing.
What's butt towing? I'm just kidding.
So I call this place up, and they're like, it's like maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon right now, and they're like, yeah, we're real swamped right now. We can't tow for an hour and a half. And I said, oh, no, that's fine. I said, I'm actually at the office right now. Why don't we just set up a time? And he's like, how's 5 o'clock? 5 o'clock's perfect. I'll make sure I'm home by 5 o'clock. So I get home. Of course, it's 5 o'clock. They're not there yet. It wasn't until about 5:15, 5:20, somewhere in that range, that they finally showed up. Guy comes flying down my street, curb checks the neighbor's curb, about turfs everyone's lawn trying to back into my driveway. He's like doing it like at like 90 miles an hour too, driving this tow truck. So
he's making up for being 20 minutes late. So
yeah, you could tell that's exactly what he was doing. He gets out and he's asked me what's up, and I tell him, and he's like, have you tried jumping it? And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, you know, before we tow it, like, let me try jumping it. I was like, okay. So he pulls this thing out. He goes, this thing, he has like a portable one, and he's like, this thing, will even jumpstart semis. And I was like, okay, cool. So he hooks it up, boom, starts instantly. So then I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm embarrassed because I like set all this stuff up under the assumption that like my dad had tried jumping it properly. So the guy's like, okay, just let it run for 20 minutes and you're good to go. And I was like, well, is the battery okay? Or is it one of those like it's dying and I need to like go get it fixed? Nope, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You sure? Yeah, okay. All right, have a good day. So he leaves. I pay him $45 for the jump start, and I'm letting the car run. I let it run about a half hour, and then I decide I'm going to go to Billy's Mart for some groceries.
Good save.
Yeah, thanks. So I drive over there. I get all my groceries. I pay. I get out to the car. I load the groceries in. I go to start the car up. Dead.
Oh, dude. Oh.
I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So now, mind you, it's hot out. I'm like sweating my ass off because it's just, the car's hot. I'm hot. I've got all these groceries in the car, and I'm like, okay. So I call this towing company up and I was like, hey, you guys jumped me, about an hour ago. Assured me everything was gonna be okay. Here I am. I'm at the Billy's Mart, and my car's dead. I need a jump so I can go get a new battery. Guy's like, you're just gonna jump your car all day? You're gonna keep paying to get it jumped? And I was like, well, no. I mean, I figured you guys, would come back and take care of it because it didn't work the first time. Yeah, we'll come back for $45. I go, I mean, you're not gonna do anything for the fact that I just paid you and didn't really get a service out of you? And he goes, nope. I can do that, or we could tow you. Well, and he was a real dick about it. So I said, forget you guys, and I ended up calling AAA. And AAA shows up about 45 minutes later, and I set up a service with them. They have a service where they will check your battery, they'll jump it, they'll check your alternator, all this stuff, and they'll replace the battery if it needs to be replaced, all for, cost or whatever. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's just do that. So the guy shows up, gets out, he opens it up, and he jumps in, and it instantly starts. And I'm like, what the heck? So he's like, well, let me check some things. He goes, it looks like the alternator's running. It's charging the battery fine. And he goes, and actually the levels on the battery are saying it's okay. He goes, but my gut's telling me it's not. I was like, okay. And he's like, you need to, do you want to have your battery get changed? He tells me it's like $120, something like that. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's just do it. Now, Haddix, you have a Ford Explorer, correct? Or Ford Escape, I mean?
Yes, I do.
Have you ever looked at changing a battery in one of these things?
No, I have. No, we haven't had to yet. So
they are. First of all, it's buried like underneath this like awning that the windshield wipers and stuff are attached to, and the only way you can get it out is by taking out the air intake, the case the air intake's that held into, and then like undoing the battery and sliding it out. Wow. The guy who's there is like, man, I've never done one of these before, but I think I can do it. Like, this shouldn't be bad. I'm like, okay, that's reassuring. So he starts doing it. Needless to say, it took him damn near an hour and a half. And the whole time he's like, yeah, I think I can. Yeah, I think I got this. Oh, well, like, I'm like, there's no way this thing's going to be put back together right.
Meanwhile, all that delicious Billy's Mart ice cream is melting in your
exactly
in
everything.
Your
everything.
All I'm thinking about over here is like all those delicious treats.
So, needless to say, he finally gets it all together. Then he puts a battery in there and he goes, you should fire it up. Mind you, the air intake's not hooked up, nothing else hooked up. And I go, are you sure? He's like, well, I guess I should probably put everything else back together first, shouldn't I? I'm like, oh, good God, this is not going to work. So he puts it all together. And I turn it on, and it turns on. And he goes, yes, I did it. Oh, I can't wait to tell my boss I was able to do this.
Oh, my God, dude.
Like, holy shit.
It almost sounds like that was when AAA was like, all right, who are we going to send out there? And it was like the guy with like the janitor was like, everyone was busy, and they're like, hey, janitor, you want to go out and help this guy out? And he's just like, just raring to try and help you and prove that he can be one of the guys that helps out.
He was so proud of himself. He handed me a card and said, you're going to get a survey in the mail. I hope I did enough to get a superb job. I can't wait. He's like, I'm so excited to go tell everybody what took me so long. This and that.
Jesus.
Needless to say, the car has been running now for a day and a half. So thanks to AAA. Fuck the other towing company, which, by the way, I created an account this morning, logged in, and left them a 1-star review on Google just because I was that upset with them.
Did you ever end up calling back or no? Calling them back and bitching?
No, not anymore. I was just like, I'm done with it.
No,
so that's my long-winded story that I just had to share with all you guys. And the moral of the story is, don't go to that towing company, which, I'm not going to tell you the name anyways.
That towing company.
Right.
Is it a popular towing company, or is it just some
No,
random...
it's not. It's just like some douchey name, something like that.
Just some like local one or something?
Right, exactly.
Like Kyle Hoagland's Towing, some shitty name.
Precisely.
I wouldn't even go to that. First of all, I don't even know how to take out a battery, so
even the ones that are like
I'm
there.
proud that I know how to like jumpstart a car. That's about as far as it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about cars, but I can tell you I do know how to build a computer, which I think is really what we want to talk about today, is our ability and skills and knowledge and feelings on PC gaming. So, Haddix, why don't you give us a little background on your PC gaming?
I mean, mine's pretty quick and brief. Growing up, I mean, not since I was little, but once, Jesus Christ, when computers became a kind of a household thing, we had one for the house. Obviously, never played any games on it. That's hardcore gaming. So I really didn't get my first gaming computer until I played a WoW when I went to college. And that wasn't even a gaming computer. That was a shitty HP laptop.
Yeah, I don't think that thing could play solid.
They barely played. But that was basically 2004 going to college. I got my own laptop, and that was the first time that I really started playing computer games, and that was WoW. And from then on, it's just been whatever.
Hougie?
Well, kind of like Haddix, and probably the same thing with you, Kiser. Like when we were kids, like people didn't have their laptop or their computer. You had the computer that was in the living room, and you had 4 people in the house that took turns using it. So playing anything that like nowadays, especially like MMOs that we would play, where you would be on there for hours, that was totally out of the question. Especially when like my first computer I had was a Macintosh, so I had, Warcraft 2 was like the first game, like real game I played. But I was definitely the hours were playing consoles. I mean, back then that was what it was. You went over to friends' houses and played on that. Especially if other people were on the computer, you play on a console. I would think the PC gaming kind of started when I moved out of the house and I had my own computer, and I kind of had the 100% freedom of being able to use that computer anytime you wanted to.
Porn and stuff.
Exactly. And we had we before we would play like kind of like LAN party games, or like old games like Doom 2 on the LAN, or the dial up or whatever we had at the beginning, and then it's just I think WoW was really the big one. But I mean, I've been playing Blizzard games since Warcraft 2, and I've played all of them, so that was kind of my gateway into PC gaming, and then slowly turned into now I have my own custom made rig. And I definitely could become more of a PC gamer than a console gamer as an adult.
So yeah, for me personally, got our family computer with Windows 95 on it, and I remember like you guys grew up on console gaming. No, this is before the Thunderbird, dude.
Oh, this is your 386?
It was a Pentium 1.
Okay.
Had, a solid 8 megs of RAM on it. And I remember we got a couple, like, demo games with it. And for someone who played, like, I remember playing Al Unser Jr. Racing. And it was supposed to be, it was like the most virtual, realistic thing I had ever played, graphically and things like that. And I'm playing on a, 13-inch CRT monitor. And that was really my entrance into PC gaming. Before then, I had an uncle that had a computer, and they had Doom 2 back when Doom 2 was like, on floppy disks and was like the shit. I remember never being able to play it, but being able to watch it and just thought it was amazing. And I had another uncle who had King's Quest 5, I think, maybe 4. One of those Sierra point-and-click adventure games. And those I always thought were just so cool. And, after that, it sort of snowballed into your guys that, played all the Blizzard games. And that was kind of the big ones for me, as far as what PC games I played. A couple RTSs here and there and some, Civilization, things like that. But started building my computers and had my own to do. But that was the Thunderbird was really the first computer that was my own personal one. But up until then, I was playing dial-up internet games, from anything like Battleship to Doom.
Yahoo Chess.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. So, PC gaming definitely is a different animal, different beast from gaming on consoles and other platforms. What, Kyle, is it that you love about PC? You said you're kind of not, that's like your main go-to now. What is it that you prefer or enjoy about PC gaming?
I feel like PC gaming, I just like it because it's, at this point now that I'm married, I've got my, like whatever it is, my 50 or 60 inch, TV downstairs, and I have
this guy
a Wii.
Bragging about being married over here.
And it's 50 inches.
It's my 50 inch. And, to just say, I do play console games. I do have a Wii U and I do have a PlayStation 4. So I do have like the current gen stuff, but it's also, I have someone else living with me who likes to watch TV, is on Netflix. So the PC was kind of like the freedom of being able to play kind of without having to, it avoids the, hey, hon, I'd like to get on there and play games. I was like, I can just play games on here. It's just a little bit more freedom. It's just being up here in this office and just kind of just hanging out and being able to be on Skype with you assholes and, saying lewd and obnoxious things and, not having to worry about my wife wondering what the hell we're talking about. But I've always compared PC gaming and console gaming, like as far as people who are like enthusiasts about it. To me, I've always compared it like as far as hobbies. Console gaming is like having like a card collection or a stamp collection where it's very stale. Like you do it, you still enjoy like getting all the new games and all that kind of stuff. But the experience of one person having a stamp collection and someone else having a stamp collection, I think for the most part is very similar. You know, the as far as the interest and everything. Whereas like PC gaming, I compare that to more like almost like art. It's more artistic. It's like painting. Like you're actually, because you can actually take something like build your own rig and make it unlike anybody else's, setup, and taking parts out, putting parts in, and making something that's unique and creative that's just your own. And then obviously your experience is going to be very different compared to someone else's experience, depending on obviously how much money and how much knowledge you put towards what you're building.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. A counterpoint to that would be if you don't have the skills or perhaps the, money to invest in a bigger, better system or a more stronger system, having a console at least puts you on a level playing field with other people who have consoles. So, I mean, I think there could be disadvantages seen there too. But I agree with what you're saying. The ability to kind of, it's definitely a different experience for every single person, based on just the setup they have, as well as if they're playing games. PC games allow you to have all these mods to kind of change and alter the game. Sometimes sometimes just for humor, and other times to actually increase performance, increase graphics, things like that. So there's definitely a lot of flexibility on the PC gaming side of things. And I'll kind of echo what you're saying about the multiplayer aspect of it, which, now consoles in many ways has it very similar now. You could probably do about the same thing when it comes to playing with your friends online and things like that. But PC gaming was definitely ahead of the curve on that for quite some time, because, you always were connected to the internet. So you could always, I was playing online games on the PC long before I was ever doing any of that on the PlayStation. It really, PlayStation 2, had the capabilities if you purchased extra, items for it, where, it wasn't really till the PlayStation 3 and that generation of consoles, where multiplayer was really an option. And in some regard, Nintendo's still kind of on the back end of it with their consoles as far as the online play goes, where PC's kind of always been the forefront of that. Haddix, how about you? What do you enjoy about, the PC gaming?
I mean, in addition to what you guys said, I think there's kind of a ease to it. It's more, nowadays everything is done on your computer. I mean, when the internet's down, I mean, you're bored as shit. Like, I mean, you just do everything. My job, I know your job for a lot of it, Kiser and Hoagie's job, they're all kind of desktop. I guess you travel a lot, Kiser, but it's just, there's that familiarity with a computer. It's nice to be able to play a game. If you have two monitors, like a lot of people do these days, it's nice to be able to play a game and multitask and tool around the internet while you're doing it. There's just there's such an ease to it. There's such an ease to, let me go to my office, sit down and play some games for a little while, chit chat, socialize, maybe multitask a little bit, and and be done. Like it's just so much easier to me than taking hours out of your day to go sit down in front of a TV, and that's all you can do while you're sitting there. Which, don't get me wrong, is fun, but I don't know.
And really, the social aspect of it, I think, is a whole lot better on here, because having things like Skype, like we're on right now, and being able to play a game, not saying that you can't have a similar, I guess, experience, but I feel like everybody has a computer. not everyone's going to be able to play a game at its max settings, but everyone has a computer that is probably at this point capable of playing, I would probably say, the majority of games at, fair settings, even if what you have is not would be deemed as a gaming computer. Whereas, obviously not everyone has a PlayStation, not everyone has an Xbox, not everyone has a Wii or Wii U. So the common ground for gaming right now is still PC, because I don't know anybody that doesn't have a gaming ready or able PC.
I mean, I guess I would say that everybody has a computer these days, but I don't know if I'd go as far as to say that everybody has PC or as gaming capable PCs. I mean, my desktop, my desktop is like 7-8 years old now, and most of the stuff coming out these days, I can't really operate very well on it. That said, my work laptop actually probably could play a lot of this stuff better than my gaming PC does at this point. So, I would argue that there's certain games that everybody could play, but I think one of the disadvantages that's there is just because they have a PC doesn't mean they can just get out there and be able to play any game, even on understandably set on lower settings or something like that. I still don't think that that's necessarily the case.
Well, what I mean by that is that not like people who have like their computer from 8 years ago, like you, where it's custom built and was meant for it. I'm just saying, like, if I went to Best Buy right now and just said, just give me like an $800 laptop, that could still probably play the majority of games right now, just at probably questionable settings. Whereas, like, it's not just like the graphics card; it's also the CPUs are a lot faster. Everything is, all the parts, even on a cheaper $800, because all the parts now are cheaper. Just in general, like, a gaming PC 8 years ago was probably could have gone as high as $2,000 to $3,000, whereas now you can get probably something that's 10 times as fast and at a price point somewhere around $1,300, because everything now is it's not about the premium anymore. It's everything. Technology itself is just getting cheaper. So whereas to me, like, the exact opposite's happening in the console world, where every year the console stuff, which really the upgrades are really not that much more different between like the 3 and the, like a PlayStation 3 versus a PlayStation 4, but it's still like could be 50% more expensive, whereas gaming has not gone up 50% in price. Yes, it's overall more expensive, but as far as value, I think you get more value playing on a PC.
I can agree with you on the value aspect of things, but there's advantages and disadvantages going with the console. If you're able to buy a new console, then you know that every single game that will come out for that console will be ready to play. You can always play, you can always operate it. Where every single, let's say an average life of a console's 5 years even. It probably goes a little bit longer than that, but we'll say 5 years. If I bought a brand new computer today, 5 years from now, there's a good chance I can't play the games that are coming out for it. And if they do come out, they're not playing that well on my system. And that's sort of my take on it. But I agree with you. Now, that said, I could go out, and the nice thing about having a computer is, you know what? I can just upgrade my graphics card. I can just upgrade my processor, or, I can upgrade my RAM or something like that. And I can make a couple minor changes for a little bit of money. And now I've got a better system ready to play those same games, where I'm not going to be able to take a PlayStation 3, pop it open, stick some more RAM in it, and now I've got a PlayStation 4.
Yeah, if you have a future-proof like motherboard and a decent power supply, I mean, you can mix and match for, like I said, 8 years and be perfectly fine. And as long as you start off with probably like the really good stuff at the start, especially like the motherboard, and making sure that you have everything in there that can support the next gen hardware, then yeah, take out your crappy, I mean, I don't even remember what you'd use, like an AMD video card, I would assume.
NVIDIA.
But you use NVIDIA? I mean, I think I'm Matt.
Yeah.
You can just pull that out, and as long as your current motherboard can handle it and your power supply, which once again, the power supply is not that big a deal because the new cards require less power. So if I know for a fact now with my PC, I could probably I could take everything out of it minus the motherboard, obviously, and the power supply, and I could get like the best video card that's out there, and it would take less draw on my PC. So, and once again, you're going to spend a lot of money on that, but it's all about, how long do you think the parts are going to last versus how much you're willing to pay.
Yeah.
Which I do understand that the new games are always in front of the graphics. So you think you got something amazing, and that's just technology in general. Like you can have the best shit in the world, and then, 8 months later, everything you might as well throw it in the garbage. It almost makes you feel like, because everything now is twice as fast and 50% cheaper.
It's like my last girlfriend, right?
Wait, when was your last girlfriend?
I don't know. I was just making a joke here, dude. The P and Peters don't need to know those details.
I think.
Yeah, seriously. Come on, Hougie.
Go to the Twitter. We'll find out.
Go to the Twitter. Somebody out there. Go. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I got nothing. So okay, those are some of the things that we like about PC gaming. What don't you like about PC gaming in comparison to, let's say, console gaming or other platforms?
I think the biggest thing is what you said earlier. Someone with a larger budget who has a lot more extra money is going to be leaps and bounds ahead of someone who has $300 to spend on a computer. You know what I mean? So even if you can spend $300 for a computer to play a game, you're either going to have to turn your settings way down, or something is. There's going to be a huge difference between my gameplay and your gameplay with the same game if we have different budgets. Or even if we have the same budget, you could put more money into something, different than me. So, I mean, there's a divide that's created. And if you're playing a real serious game or some type of ranked play in a video game, I mean, that's huge. So,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, you could argue that on console gaming, there's still a little bit of, if you're playing a ranked game or something like that, okay, there's a chance that somebody's got a faster internet speed or something like that, and they may have a slight advantage there, but that's going to be it. PC, you've got the internet disadvantage or advantage is already there. On top of that, it's how quickly your computer's processing things, how clear everything is, how well you can see it. I mean, there's definitely a lot of advantages or disadvantages based on budget when it comes to competitive gaming of any sorts. Now, if you're just on there playing, games, solo games or games with your buddies, and you don't care, like, okay, like, so, then it's not as big a deal. But I think anybody who does PC gaming, to an extent, there's some competitive gaming in there, just like any system and stuff for the most part.
Yeah, you're going to have some of that. Even if it's not competitive, I mean, if you're buying a computer, I mean, you want the games you play to look good. You know what I mean? And if you don't have the money to run those settings at a high setting, I mean, you're going to have a game that, I mean, like my laptop when I installed WoW for the first time. I mean, it was literally on the lowest settings possible. The game really did look like shit. I was just doing it to play with you guys. So
yeah, I mean, it was terrible. It was like,
but that takes away from your gameplay when it looks.
Oh yeah, you don't get any. I mean, there's a point where, and yours was absurd to like an absurd level. But there's a point where it takes yourself removed out of the, you're not immersed in it anymore because you're sitting there. You're frustrated that it's choppy, or that you can't see this, or you can't experience the game the way it was intended to be experienced. So there's definitely
I would
some
never
disadvantages.
I could
there.
go back to that. Yeah,
Kyle, what about you? What don't you like about PC gaming?
Well, I've always been a fan. Just because I'm a fan of Nintendo, I've always made a point to always have either the Wii or Wii U, something like that, where as much as I still am able to talk to you guys and all of our other friends and play our games on the computer, you kind of lose a little bit of that, just actually like seeing someone and talking to them and chit chatting and stuff like that. And I always liked having stuff like the Wii U where there's a lot of like decent party games, stuff like that, invite people over and actually make a night out of it. I feel like, I think gaming nowadays, especially when you're not at all, let's just take away, if I wanted to play, like WoW or something like that now, there's really no communication. There's hardly people typing anymore in WoW. I think everyone's just kind of in the mentality of, get in, do your thing and get out. As far as doing the dungeons and stuff.
Sounds like my ex-girlfriend, right?
There we go.
Yeah. Who was your last ex-girlfriend?
Let's say, what was her name again? Anyways, like I said, I don't really care anymore about that stuff because I play games with like Haddix and Matt and sometimes you Kiser from time to time whenever you're in the mood to do it. And this is acceptable, like being able to just talk and bullshit on Skype and stuff like that, being able to pull over and, have another screen and be on Reddit or something. But the other thing I wanted to counter actually, when you guys talked about the budget, when you're an enthusiast and you're doing competitive gaming, I feel like at that point the price doesn't matter, or at least
no. When I'm saying competitive,
I'm
not saying competitive gaming in the aspect of like professional gamers out there by any means. I'm saying somebody who just like enjoys, like wants to play against other people, but so they're competing against other people, but not at a level of any sort of seriousness.
Well, there a lot of facts are that actually when people want to play and try and win, they actually usually like to keep their graphics down actually as low as they can. It's there's a difference between competitive edge and immersion. If you're into immersion, then yes, you turn the graphics up really high and you want, the shadows to look nice. You want the, the ambience and everything like that. You want that to be nice looking. But if you play a game like, Counter-Strike, or, especially FPS games, most of the people
and that's
who are
kind of
trying
what
to win,
I'm thinking about there is a first-person shooter.
Yeah, so first-person shooters, first of all, the other thing about PC is that you have your peripherals where, a person who's just like, Joe Schmo who wants to play Counter-Strike might have a regular keyboard and regular mouse, whereas somebody else has, something that's made from Razer or, like a Logitech gaming keyboard or something like that where they're able to keybind everything that they could ever want. I know for a fact that when I was playing StarCraft back in the day, the one thing I was always shitty at was using like the hotkeys and putting buildings down. And so
that's all you were shitty
everything. That's the only thing. The only thing, man. And I couldn't catch up to other people who just knew by heart, like B. I know it sounds ridiculous saying it out loud now, like, you hit B, put the barracks down, or, for pylons would be like V or P or whatever it was. And that stuff that's never really registered me when I was younger. I would just find it, click it, move it, and go everywhere I wanted to go. And I found that this has put me at a really distinct disadvantage. But going back to like first person shooters, a lot of people who still have really good rigs purposely put their graphics down crazy low just so they can get their FPS running at like in the 200s. And that way, the response time between the game and what they're seeing with their eyes is as twitchy as humanly possible. So for them, they don't give a shit about how nice the game looks. They care more about, killing somebody in that like quarter of a second faster than someone else would have.
Yeah, I still think if you want to enjoy, you shouldn't have to. If everyone is playing, you're not on the equal level. You're never going to be on an equal level of PC gaming, where on console it is. And I guess that's my argument there. Whether they want to, turn things down or adjust this or heighten that or something like that, like that's fine. But at the end of the day, if I got on my computer right now and you got on your computer right now and we chose any game to play, you're going to have an advantage over me on every single one of those just because you have a better, faster processor, more RAM, better graphics card, etc. That's fine, but that's the disadvantage to the, gamers on a budget or people who don't take things as serious or don't want to invest the money or the effort into a more hardcore gaming platform.
Well, I feel like there's got to be some sort of ceiling you hit where after a certain amount of money, you're not getting more performance. You're just getting more just like, for example, if I'm playing a game on medium versus playing a game on high, I don't think the edge goes to the guy who can play on high. Definitely a difference if someone has to put everything down to nothing and it still stutters a little bit. If you can play at the lowest settings and you have complete, smooth gameplay, then the advantage is only going to go to the guy. I think the advantage of winning is the same. It's just that the other guy just sees it looking, I guess it's going to look prettier. But yes, if you're talking about like Haddix's old laptop, I mean, that was a, a piece of shit that for minimum requirements it didn't even hit to be able to run that. It shouldn't.
It's a disgrace to even call it a laptop. Really,
it wasn't even. Well, it wasn't in any way, shape, or form meant for gaming.
I think the only time I ever saw you play that game, I think you were running your dead body. So I feel like that was like the least graphics intensive part of that game is if you were dead. So I don't remember how bad it actually was on.
It was horrible.
I don't think I ever saw you play when you were like in like a city or something like that. I think I always saw like you were running back.
The only reason that I was even able to do that is because I had up to that point never played a computer game, so I had no expectations. I could never go back to that. If you told me right now that's the only way I'd play WoW, I wouldn't play WoW anymore. Like, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it had Minecraft-ish blocky graphics, but on like a much worse level than that even.
Yeah, it was bad. It was pretty bad.
But one other point that I wanted to make that you kind of touched on, Kyle, for me is one thing I don't like about PC gaming is peripherals. And I'll caveat that, first of all, by saying, one, if I'm playing a first-person shooter, I love the point-and-click of a mouse because it's so much easier and faster, etc.
It's more natural.
Right. And I do understand, yes, I could plug a controller in right now and play a game on my controller on the PC. It's different. It's the only way I can explain it. It's different than sitting at on a couch with your television up there, and I know that I could set this up with the right computer and this and that. I get that. There is that down there. So PMPers, you can back off on the Twitter. All right. Before you all
take it easy, everybody.
But it's, to me, having to use the keyboard, whether, I've never been a WASD guy where I know like that's like almost, if you're a PC gamer, that's the way to go. I was always an arrow key guy.
When I first started playing WoW, I used the up, down, left, right keys on the bottom right.
I still do. Any game I play, I use up, down, left, right. It's just how I am. I understand I could probably get trained that way. It's just not going to happen. So there's a part of me that always
I realized
prefers...
I had to start healing. Once I had to start healing and actually had to like have things keybound and like doing PvP where I had to have my hand near like the 1, 2, 3, 4 keys near the top. Like I had to force myself for like a whole expansion to do it, and I now do it, and it's like it's easy now. But yeah, definitely first two, I would say like all the games I ever played, especially MMO, was how you play.
And every game I'll play to this day, it's click, and if I gotta move with a character, if I'm playing The Sims or something, and I can't click, I'm moving up, down, left, right. Just how it's going to be on a PC.
I mean, Haddix, do you still keyboard turn and all that stuff?
IWASD, I always have. You fucking noobs.
Maybe it's Matt.
No, I'm not a huge key binder. And I will say, Kiser, in defense of not being able to heal without WASD, I think number one druid healer on the server could refute that point. Right?
I mean, that's true. I never used WASD. I actually never used key bindings either. I was completely click and go. I used
just imagine how world renowned you would have been if you actually were doing it right.
I believe I was world renowned. People would come to my character and just inspect me and worship me, basically, and send me little messages.
Kiser was
like,
a god.
Oh my god. I pretty much was the god.
And people don't realize that's why Kiser doesn't play WoW anymore. He's been at the mountaintop. You know what I mean? What else is there?
Yeah, once you're at the top,
he's not into the beauty culture.
There's no other place but down,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I couldn't do that to people. I was really just getting too popular. And they always say you don't want to fly too close to the sun. So I clipped my wings long before then.
Jesus. Oh, my God.
Yes, those are things that people would say to me.
Well played. That was a good one.
Thank you. So, Kyle, what, the future of PC gaming, what do you think is, what will be different if you were to say down the line, what changes from now? What gets better? What doesn't? What is, have they reached basically the level of what PC gaming is going to be?
As far as raw power, it's always going to get a little better. Everything is trending towards price points being a little bit more competitive. Like I said before, 10 years ago, a gaming PC was a lot more expensive. And just, putting in perspective just how much better the parts are now at the price that they're at. Before, when computers were out in like the late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of this shit was made out of like silver and gold and stuff like that, like just like actually precious metals put into connectors and pins and stuff. Whereas nowadays everything's made out of like sand and works much better. So obviously when you find a material that is in it's everywhere and it's not expensive, obviously everything's going to be a little cheaper. What I see happening is
Anakin Skywalker would not appreciate a new PC.
God damn it.
He loves sand. What are you talking about? He's a big fan of sand. I actually see the tower PC slowly but surely dwindling down to much smaller forms, or I think more the reemergence of the gaming laptop, where, I think a lot of people want to have the ability, as laptops are getting lighter and lighter and much more mobile, and you can put it in a backpack and easily take it around everywhere. I see in 10 years, you're still going to have those enthusiasts that want to have like 4, video cards in their setup or whatever, just because they want to.
And 12 monitors and.
Exactly. If you want something like have like, you have 4K now, God knows what it'll be like 5 years from now. But if you want something like, as far as having the 6 monitor setup and you need all that kind of juice, but I see that like in 10 years from now, I think a lot of people are going to slowly but surely move away from having like a tower just sitting on the floor or on your desk and replace it with something that's more mobile that you can pick up and move around. They're already making video cards now, because right now they build video cards for desktops, which are right now just traditionally more powerful than the mobile versions of those cards when you put them in laptops. But because of the form factor of the new cards, the desktop cards, they're smaller, they require less power, they don't take as much heat. They are going to be easily able to put those in the next gen laptops. And so now I guess the line between PC gaming and laptop gaming is going to just get much closer, where it might slowly just, at that point, what's the point? Unless you're a complete enthusiast, what's the point of having an actual rig?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I think maybe the percentage of compact computer gamers might go up, but I still think you're going to have a decent percentage of people that want the multiple monitors, the multiple video cards, the cooling systems, the giant, battle stations, as they're like to be called.
We're talking about maybe like the lower, that's the upper 5% maybe. I'm not saying that's like the 20% even. I think that I think the vast majority of gamers out there probably still rock a single card, and they don't rock a 3 to 4, 5, 6 monitor setup. So
no, I agree with that, but I still,
as far as computer makers, it doesn't make sense for them to keep on making these behemoth, juggernaut setups, when I think that the money overall, as far as the mainstream want and the demand, is not for those people.
I think I agree partially. I think things are getting smaller. I could see
Haddix knows this.
Things always get smaller, guys. Remember that. I can see desktops turning into these tiny little boxes that sit on the top of your desk, and you don't even really notice that they're
my
there.
ex-girlfriend.
It's the third time, man.
This is Kiser. This is actually a podcast about Kiser's ex-girlfriend.
I mean, it's just like I said, that PC that I gave out to you. I mean, that's a form that form factor is probably maybe slightly bigger than a PS4, maybe.
Well, yeah, and I could see that condensing down to where it's and things not giving off as much heat. So they're just things that you sit on top of your desk or you mount to your wall behind your monitors or something. But I agree with Kiser. I think that the laptop thing is. With the price range dropping, I could see people owning both, maybe. But I still think the majority of people would prefer to play on a desktop,
on a less mobile style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And sure, like I said, my wife, I said I have a laptop that you can game on, and then I have my rig, and I did that on purpose for the sake that obviously she plays mostly on the laptop. But in events where I come home, or if I wanted to go to a LAN party or something like that, I've got something that I don't need to lug around, because. My rig's pretty heavy overall, and this would just be a pain in the ass. It's not like that, I used to have an Alienware 51X, which is like they're kind of like their console looking, before they made the alphas is a little bit bigger, but it was something that I could easily carry around with a monitor. Whereas now, if I wanted to come home and we wanted to do like a LAN party, play some like Civ, what it was that 5 or 6 now, I don't need to carry all that. It's just, to me, it's much more handy. That trend is already happening in businesses, especially now that I've been out in the West Coast. Nobody has a tower anymore. Everybody has their own laptops. They can take shit home. And it's just, from the price point, the mobility, the convenience, I think that the focus now is going to be more on making the laptops more powerful than focusing their efforts on creating like these gaming PCs. Not saying that that's still not going to exist, but I think that the people who really are into gaming PCs are just going to build their own. You can't build your own laptop. At least not yet.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. I'll give you that. Me personally, I'd like to see in like 5 years where basically everything is just LEDs, like floating everywhere. So then you just you don't have keyboards, you're just like touching the sky, like in the movies. That they're pretty much. I feel like if they're in the movies at this point, that's going to happen in real life.
Oh, yeah.
I just imagine just looking like you're tripping on acid, just like having your hands out and like trying to touch things that aren't there.
So basically, like in the Iron Man movies.
Dude, that's exactly what I was just about to say. I was going to be like, I'm like Tony Stark, but instead I'm like, instead of like creating Ultron, I'm actually just like poning noobs in Call of Duty.
Now, do you think you'd be able to afford that? Like, let's say that technology was introduced tomorrow, but it's not ready yet, obviously. And then
if
5
I'm Tony
years from
Stark,
now,
I can.
Well, obviously, if you're Tony Stark.
Well, yeah.
In this futuristic environment, I'd like to believe that I have the money that Tony Stark has.
Kiser,
in this made-up world.
The real question is, in this futuristic environment, is there somewhere where you can like buy skills because you don't pwn noobs now?
This guy.
You were just kissing him like 10 minutes ago about how he was like the god of healing, and now you're
that's been proven. I was there for that.
There's just some things you can't question.
I was there for that. I witnessed that firsthand. I witnessed Kiser rip his shirt off while when he downed bosses. So
that's true.
Do you play anything right now, Kiser? On your, I know your PC is, like I said, it's shown its age. Is there anything on there that you actually are kind of playing, or are you kind of just? You're at home.
I play a lot of like U-porn on there.
Dang it! I was gonna say, what's that game called? Pornhub.
Pornhub.
Yeah. No. So occasionally I try to play a game on there. Nothing too crazy. Like, Overwatch came out. I was interested in checking it out, but I don't think that computer's going to support it. And in some ways, I think the computer itself is just dying. Like, I feel like it's that old pet that needs to be put down soon, and every time you're just about to do it, it like shows enough life that you're like, I can't do it yet. I just can't do it. But then one day I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to try to open up, porn, and it's just going to shut down.
Did you ever check out the minimum requires for Overwatch? Because I know that I know a lot of people who have older PCs that said it still runs fine, and even on low settings, the game still looks really good. It's not like WoW back in the day you put on low, which just looks like blocks and shit. The low settings actually, the game still looks really good on low.
No, I haven't. But then also, at the same regard, like, I really don't know whether it would even be enjoyable to play it on it. I would almost probably rather play it on like my work laptop because I feel like it has a better chance of running better. Especially for a game like that where I'm not going to want to just sit there and get killed the whole time because I just can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Word. I will say though, get it. It's a fun game. It's a lot of fun.
That's your endorsement for the week.
I would say don't get it.
Well, then I guess we're at a crossroads. Point counterpoint right at the end of the show. We're out of time though. Damn it.
We are out of time, unfortunately. So we'll just have to get your guys' input on that next time. As far as the fans out there, feel free to subscribe on iTunes. Leave us that review. Go to the pseudonerdpod.com. Hougie did put up a new Test Your Knowledge last week, so that should be up there. And, feel free to leave your feedback on whether Overwatch is worth it, what you think about PC gaming as a whole, what you do like, don't like about it. And next week, if you like the Fuller House episode with just Hougie and I, we'll buckle up because Haddix is going to be taking a break off.
You loved Fuller House.
It was quite a popular one, and next week it could be just as popular as We'll Council Gaming with just Hougie and myself, while Haddix enjoys a little R&R.
And his Dreamcast disqualifies him from being able to be on this podcast to begin with.
Please.
From the home of the certified nerds to the home of SeaGeek's computer service and repair, I am Josh Kiser, he is Josh Haddix, and he is Kyle Hoagland, and we will see you guys next time.
Have a good Friday.
See ya.